Bonjour mes enfants, it's your Uncle Dan the Vinyl Man, back with another episode of Uncle Dan's Vintage Vinyl. Here today to talk about, I'm going to take my glasses off because I've got a heck of a glare on. Here today or tonight or whatever time period it may be for you, to talk about an article that was sent to me by my friend Ricefield Records. The article's title is "The Search for the Perfect Sound" by Jeff Edgers. It's available from the Washington Post, and it's been out about 3 weeks now. It was published September 29. So the title is "The Search for the Perfect Sound," and the subtitle, "Vinyl is Booming in the Digital Age. So why does the best way to listen feel just out of reach?" And I read that, and then there was also a sort of a roundtable with Edgers and Michael Fremer and a couple other guys, Michael 45, and I forgot who the other one is, but some people well known in the audiophile community, and Jeff Edgers, who admits that he's a journalist, but this is kind of a newbie to the whole vinyl audiophile thing. So I read that, and I've been thinking about it since then, to the extent I ever can think. I've been thinking about it, and this one is really sticking up tonight. Anyway, I've been thinking about it and thinking my attitude about it. One of the things that struck me reading it was that Michael Fremer is described as having speakers that cost like $375,000, and the turntable, I don't know what the cost is, but I'm guessing the turntable is in excess of $300,000. Who knows what the cartridge was? I know there are cartridges that'll cost $20,000. I'm suspect that you can pay even more than that for a cartridge. Then he's going to have a preamp and an amp to go along with that, and he might also be one of those people who spends a ton of money on power cords and interconnects. And I thought, yeah, and he says he's always chasing it too. And I feel a little sorry for him because I've had the perfect sound before, and I can probably get it again tonight if I want. Let me tell you about one of the times I had the perfect sound. I had driven from where I live in east central Minnesota to eastern Wisconsin to buy a Sansui SR525 turntable built in '76, and a direct drive turntable, well regarded, though not, mid-fi at best, right, from audiophile standards. I picked it up in the town of Minocqua, Wisconsin. We were supposed to get freezing rain, ice, snow. So by the time I was able to get over there, I thought it would be crazy to try to drive back home, because the snow was supposed to be moving west to east. So I drove to the town of Ashland, Wisconsin, and I ended up spending 2 nights there. Me and my dog Pancake, and my new SR525 turntable. And I took with me, because I thought I might do that. I kind of watched the weather, and I thought I might be doing that. I had a little system ready to go. I took an mid-80s vintage Sanyo amplifier, sort of a mini amplifier, not a very good amplifier. Puts out maybe, I think, 8 watts a side. Really kind of a junky amplifier. And I took a pair of realistic Minimus 2.5 speakers. This is one of them. I bought these for $5 at a Goodwill in Seattle back in the early 2000s. I had them for a while in a garage system that I had set up back there. But I brought those along. So I set up in my hotel room, which was a suite. I set up the turntable, and I ran it into the Sanyo amplifier, into the little Minimus 2.5 speakers. It was not what one would call an audiophile setup. I had to. The little Sanyo had a graphic equalizer on it. I think it was 5 or 7 bands. Anyway, it was raked at an angle from the bass, bass all the way up to the treble all the way down, or almost all the way down on the treble response. Try to get a balanced response out. I moved the speakers that were sitting on a table in the bedroom area, and I moved them back and forth from the wall, and got them as good as I could. I'd taken a few albums over, and I took over in particular, and I listened to these a bunch at that time. I took over copies of Ricky Lee Jones' first two albums. This one I just picked up the other day. It still has the vinyl. It still has the shrink on it. Oh, it's coming off there. I know I should take it off, but I don't care. But I took along a copy of Ricky Lee Jones' first album and a copy of her second album, Pirates. I think these are. I took them because I like the sound of these albums. I think they were well recorded. They were well engineered. They were well produced. The pressings. I've got 4 copies of the first album, the self-titled first album, and 2 or 3, I think 3 copies of Pirates, and they all sound good to me. So that was good enough. But it was snowing, and it was. I'd got in, and not long after I got into the hotel there in Ashland, it started to, freezing rain started in, and I woke up in the morning to the car pretty well coated with ice, and there was snow on top of that, and it was cold, and roads were miserable. So I hung around there that day. That was a Saturday, and then Sunday, and then I drove back on Sunday from Ashland to my home. And that was a great experience. I was there in the hotel room. I felt like I was off in time. I was by myself with my dog, Pancake, who was, just completely happy to be there with me. But we were hanging out, and I was listening mainly to Ricky Lee Jones over and over. The other stuff I took just, it just didn't hit me like Ricky Lee Jones was hitting me then. I took over a classical album. I can't remember which one. And the guy gave me some albums. Eric Clapton's Slow Hand, and a couple others that I put on for a minute but didn't care for them. Genesis Duke and Boomtown Rats, and it seems to me there was something else, but they're just not things that hit me. Ricky Lee Jones was hitting me. So I just hung out there. I think I took a book, but, for a lot of time I was just sitting, even during the day, just kicked back on the bed, listening to that, and enjoying it. I was loving the turntable. I thought the turntable, from 1976 was still sounding great. I knew that the sound was not ideal from, in terms of the accuracy of the reproduction of what was originally put down. And it didn't matter. I was having a great time. It was made great, too. I had some encounters over there. I don't know anybody in Ashland, Wisconsin. But I did go to a Walmart to pick up the top of the cover lid of the turntable. Needed some cleaning up, so I picked up. I went over and picked up from an O'Reilly's auto place. I picked up some stuff to buff out plastic, and I picked up a fishing weight and some 4-pound line from Walmart because the anti-skate weight was missing from the turntable. So I got an approximately right weight fishing weight and hung it off the turntable, and it works fine. I got it to within a gram or so, and it's just like I cannot tell a problem at all on it. So when I was there, I ran into some people who were just very nice. There was a natural food store where I bought some lovely bread. I bought some wonderful cheese. It was not actually Wisconsin cheese. It was I believe I bought a blue or a gorgonzola. Maybe a brie, a fake brie, but one of those. But the people there were lovely. I talked to him. Oh, I bought some figs. I remember I bought a summer sausage. So I had that. Those were my meals. At the Walmart, of all places, I went there to pick up a couple of things. As I was going in, I was wearing a cowboy hat, as I sometimes do. I like cowboy hats, and I was wearing boots, cowboy boots. And suddenly, this young woman, it turned out to be a girl. I didn't recognize it, hadn't paid attention to her, but I was passing her by as I was going on, and she said, "I like your boots," and I spoke to her, and she was wearing cowgirl boots, I guess, and I said, "Oh, I like your boots too," and we started talking about horses, and she told me all about the horses they had, 43 horses, and how she liked to ride and all of that, and we walked in and talked for a couple of minutes, and she was just, it was very touching that, she looked to be maybe 12. Back again, and I'll edit those two together. Anyway, I was saying that the girl was about 12, and I was a little puzzled that this kid would talk to an old guy with a bushy beard and a really beat up looking cowboy hat on his head. But she spoke to me, and she was, I just spoke directly. We just talked about horses and cowboy boots, and told her about my daughter, who was 13 at the time, so probably a little older than her. It was really pleasant. I went in, and I went over and looked at the vinyl, and I ended up buying the Blues Brothers album. Although, there are some good performances on it, not by John Belushi and Dana, not with John Belushi doing vocals, but other great performances on there. But I didn't own it. I thought, it's something else to listen to. But while I was there, an older guy, older than me, even came up, and we started talking. We had a great talk about vinyl. He was looking for some vinyl to buy, and we talked about where we might go to, where I might go to buy vinyl around there. He actually gave me a suggestion of a place in Superior, Wisconsin, where I ended up buying a whole bunch of $1 classical stuff that was really, really good. But there were like four interactions with people that just seemed very warm and genuine. Brief, but very warm, genuine interactions, and they all kind of touched me. The people at the natural food store, I ended up talking to a couple of the young clerks there, were just delightful. They were just, we talked about tea and cheese and dates, and not dating, but medjool dates, and it was wonderful. So that that during that trip, listening to Ricky Lee Jones, that was for me a peak experience. I don't know. That was great. I wouldn't trade that for anything. So you don't have to spend in excess of $500,000 to get a great sound. I remember I spent $8 on that for the Sanyo amplifier that I bought. I spent $5 for my Radio Shack speakers. Now I spent $300 for the turntable, but I spent $300 for it because I wanted a Sansui turntable. I'm a Sansui fan. I like Sansui gear, so I bought a Sansui turntable and spent $300 for it, which is probably more than it was worth, but I wanted to have it. So I had I just had a great experience there. Oh, by the way, the cartridge on the Sansui is an SV27 Sansui branded cartridge. No one seems quite to know who manufactured it. It has a conical stylus, and that was probably the original stylus. Still sounded great. I bought a new stylus and put it on, and I was like, yeah, that sounds exactly as good as the old stylus did. I want to say we get confused by thinking that what counts most, we believe, is the medium. Okay. Let's start. We'll start with the music. People will say, yeah, It's got to, let's have good music in the first place. But then they'll say, okay, well then, and was it well recorded? Was it well engineered in terms of production all around? Was it mastered well? Was it mixed well? Was it engineered well for the pressing? Was it pressed well? And was the disc maintained in good condition? And then, okay, now we're going to play it back. What's the quality of the cartridge? What's the quality of the turntable? What's the quality of the preamplifier? What's the quality of the amplifier? What's the quality of the speaker? And we take all of those and we say, this is what we're chasing. We're chasing those things, and we want to get better and better at that. We want a better turntable. We want a better cartridge. We want a better stylus. We want a better preamp, phono preamp. Everything. Down to people spending obscene amounts of money for RCA cables. And we're forgetting something that is absolutely true, which is that each time we listen to a piece of music, it is a performance, and the most important part of that performance is you. It's the listener. And where you are, and what's going on for you as the listener. That's what really makes the performance. And there in that hotel in Ashland, Wisconsin, the hotel in Ashland, Wisconsin, I was bringing something to that was important to me. I felt great there. I was happy that I'd gotten a Sansui turntable. I like the looks of the SR525. I think it's an attractive turntable. I liked the looks. I liked that I was able to get the lid cleaned. I liked that I researched, found the right weight for the anti-skate and rigged up an anti-skate device that works just fine. I was pleased that it sounded good enough through my cheap little Sanyo amp and the Radio Shack speakers. And I was pleased because I was listening to Ricky Lee Jones, albums that I love and I think are great albums. I was pleased because I met some, I just had these random encounters with lovely people who were and I was able to be good with them too. They were good to me, and I felt good because I was able to speak kindly to them. I joked, the old guy and I joked around. The little girl, I spoke to her as if she were an adult. I talked to her and tried not to condescend to her at all. The folks at the young women at the natural food store, I tried to be authentic and present for them. I felt good about what I was doing. I was there with my dog. That made me feel good. So the most important part of the thing was inside me, and that's what made the experience so great. And I've had other peak experiences. The first time I dropped a needle on a Nancy Wilson LP and started listening to it, and I was like, and I was doing that on a turntable that it had a lot of grease and stuff in it. Garage Synchro Lab 75 needed some attention. That was my first drop, first time playing it. It had some audible rumble in it, some additional cleaning and greasing have taken most of that out. Well, let's look at some rumble to it. But dropping that, that's something that's fresh in my memory and that's wonderful in my memory is hearing that for the first time. So those are peak experiences. So yeah, the best way to listen isn't out of reach. It's like the ending of well, I want to say this first. I do film photography. I shoot film photography. I have cameras up to, I've got a couple of 8x10s. I have some beautiful 4x5s, beautiful Sinar. I've got a great Toyo Field 45A. I've got a lovely Nagaoka Woody, as they're called. Gorgeous cameras. I've got some lovely lenses, and I've got a great Mamiya RB67, a 6x7 roll film camera. I've got some great cameras. I've got a Leica, right? It's like, and this is a lomography camera with a plastic lens on it, wide angle plastic lens. It has one shutter speed. It has one f-stop. It's an f8 f-stop. It's about 1/100th of a second. I've taken some of my favorite photos with this camera. with plastic lens that doesn't render anything sharply. Stop chasing it. It's like the ending of The Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy realizes that what she really wanted was inside herself all along. It's inside you. Be happy with that. Find that. Go inside yourself and figure out what's going on for you, and then bring that person up, that best person, and say, this is great. Enjoy those experiences. Don't keep thinking, I would enjoy this better if I had a better cartridge. But I enjoy it better if I had a better phono preamp. If that's where you are, you're never going to be happy. So I make a lot of fun stuff on my channel. I'm just here to goof in some ways. But this is actual advice. Look inside yourself, find that, enjoy that. If you do that, you don't have to be chasing that rainbow, because you'll never catch it. Uncle Dan, the Vinyl Man, wishing you as always mes enfants. Au revoir et aussi à bientôt.